Honorable Vadera Sir, Honorable Dr. Prakash Gopalan, distinguished dignitaries on the dais, and all the eminent audience in front of me. I graduated in the year 1987 in BE Honours Electronics and Electrical Communication Engineering. The last time I visited this institute was in 1989, just before going to Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, Mussoorie in August 89. When I got admitted here in 1983, June, that time the college was affiliated to the Punjab University, Patiala. But I remember when I was in third year of engineering, Dr. N.C. Nigam was the director of the institute, and it became the deemed university. And ultimately, I got a graduation degree from Thapar Institute. After coming back, after a gap of 32 years, today morning, when I took a round of the campus, I was astonished to see some pleasant changes. And what a world-class deemed university it has become. So I'll fail in my duty if I don't congratulate Vadera sir and Gopalan sir for doing a tremendous job, sir. And the entire management of Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. I'm sure a lot of vision, a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of focus has gone to make TIT what it is today. Those days, the batch would be just about 240, 250 every year. And I'm told it is in thousands now, more than 11,000 now. And it is so heartening and it's so pleasant to hear that amongst 4,000 engineering colleges in the country, this institute is at number 23rd. And I have no doubt that in times to come, it has a very bright future. I must congratulate the entire management for this. I'll spend a brief few minutes on COVID pandemic management in Mumbai. As you might be aware, the first COVID case, the coronavirus case in India was found on the 16th of March 2020. And the country's witnessed first lockdown on 22nd of March, followed by 24th March midnight, nationwide lockdown, first 3 weeks, and then extended by another 3 weeks. Those days, in the month of March 2020, I was working as Principal Secretary Urban Development and Principal Secretary Water Resources Department in the government of Maharashtra. And I was directed by the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra that I should create a Google Drive of 63 institutions, which is 36 collectors, which you call DCs here, and 27 municipal commissioners of Municipal Corporation of Maharashtra. Maharashtra is highly urbanized, population 12.5 crores, 50% in urban areas. So my job was every morning, 10 o'clock, I would present the figures of coronavirus spreading in these 61 municipalities and corporations and districts of Maharashtra state to the Chief Secretary and to the Chief Minister. So how many cases are coming positive, how many high-risk contacts have been traced, what's happening to Tablighi, what's happening to the international passengers who landed at Mumbai airport and they spread around, who actually imported, through whom we imported this virus. Conversion of hospitals into various categories of COVID, DCHC, DCH, COVID care centers. So when the first week of May, when Mumbai virtually became a hotspot in the country, and I was placed as Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai. For your information, the Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai is a single window. It's a unified command in Mumbai. Everything falls in the municipal corporation. There are no multiplicity of organizations there, and that is one of the reasons we succeeded. The Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai is as good as CEO of Mumbai City, where anything and everything falls under its jurisdiction. We run our own medical colleges, we run our own engineering colleges, we run 42 hospitals, we have own our drinking water dams, we have own projects, we have more than 1,200 schools and colleges, so everything is funded and owned by BMC for the last hundreds of years. Our medical college like KM, Nair, Sion, they are in the top 10 gradation in the country. And they all started way back in 1890, 1900 and 1910. So when I was put there as municipal commissioner, my job was very clear-cut because the death rate had become 8%. And in Mumbai, more than 10 million people, to be very precise, 12 million people live in slums of Mumbai, where social distancing is a big no-no. In Dharavi, you have 800,000 people in 2.34 square kilometers, the most dense pocket in the world. So the job was to save the financial capital of the country, to save the economy of the country, and to ensure that these people who are living in slums of Mumbai, millions of them, their precious lives should not be lost. On the 17th of May, 2020, the New York Times reported that in Mumbai, the coronavirus has gone into slums and people are going to die in thousands on the roads of Mumbai. On the 18th of May, CNN reported New York that in Mumbai, people are going to die like rats because in slums, there will be no control left now. And after that, in the second wave of Mumbai, between 10th of February and 31st of May, we got 3.93 lakh COVID positive cases, 3,484 deaths, 0.8% mortality, the lowest in any place of the world for a comparable city. Our mortality rates are far better than New York or London or any other European city. The newspapers like CNN, New York Times, who were predicting very high mortality rate in Mumbai, ultimately found that Mumbai achieved the lowest mortality rate for a comparable city anywhere in the world. Now, how did it happen? It happened because the day I took over, I told my team, Mumbai, yes, you know, it has a budget of 40,000 crore rupees. It has budget more than 20 states of India, smaller states. It's bigger than those states in financial size. We have 100,000 employees of BMC. So we told our core team, we said, this is going to be long-term war now. Coronavirus is not going to go away in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, where in government we do some ad hoc things and just tide over calamities. Some floods come and we run around for 2, 3, 4 weeks and then everything will become normal. But I told my team, I said, the last pandemic came in 1918, Spanish flu, and it lasted 2 years. And I said, this pandemic may continue for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years. And since it's a war cannot be fought by individuals. It has to be fought by systems. And systems on autopilot. So from where we started, and we designed 28 initiatives or 28 sub-models, which we call as the Mumbai model today. So whether we get 1,000 cases in a day, 100 cases in a day, or 10,000 cases in a day, on 14th of April, we got 11,000 positive in one day. And in a couple of hours, everybody was put on the beds. And there is not a single phone call that comes to us. Let me share with you that in this model, one of the finest sub-model is that Mumbai is only one city in the entire world, not in India. I repeat, the only city in the entire world where the positive test report of COVID patient, once swab is taken, does not flow from the lab to the patient through email, SMS, or any other mechanism. It is banned by written order. We have handled 7.48 lakh positive cases in Mumbai in the last 18, 19 months. And all these reports have come at midnight, 12 midnight to BMC headquarters. in a single line list on a software developed by IIT Mumbai. And then we created ward war rooms, 24 ward war rooms in 24 zones in Mumbai. And we split Mumbai into 24 Mumbais, each part fighting its own battle against COVID. Each ward war room having doctors, teachers to look after interact with slums, to ambulances, medical teams, telephone operators, all self-sufficient. But a single dashboard on 186 hospitals of Mumbai, available on your phone, the dashboard, and all 186 hospitals, single point of allocation of beds through ward war rooms. All private hospitals like Breach Candy or Nanavati or Leelavati, Bombay Hospital, they were banned from allotting their own beds. We passed an order under APID Act of 1898. We said if any hospital allots even a single bed, we will prosecute the hospital and arrest the management. We said we will not arrest the doctors, we will arrest the trustees. And in the system, we told the hospitals, 186 of them, that you will only treat the patients. You forget about admitting them. They'll all be admitted by BMC. Even today also, on my cell phone, I can sitting here, I can allot a bed in Breach Candy or any hospital of Mumbai in a couple of seconds. So in this system, and then we told the hospitals that you have to do charity now. Just imagine a Breach Candy, which was charging 100,000 rupees for a bed in a day, started allotting bed for 4,000 rupees per day, and that continues today also. Hospitals lost hundreds of crores, but their credibility is one of the highest in Asia and Europe today. Then, when these reports come to us at midnight, 8 o'clock, they get reflected on in 24 war rooms, 10 dashboards, each 240 dashboards. And the doctors there, they inform the patients that you are COVID positive. And then ambulance start moving, hundreds of them on Uber platforms, and the beds are allotted at the residence of the patient. The ambulances then drop these patients on the COVID beds. So we call it chase the patient strategy, where right from the test report to putting the patient on the hospital bed, everything's done by BMC. Then we started a very ambitious, very aggressive, and we went on a front foot. I joined on 8th of May 2020, and on 9th of May we announced Chase the Virus policy, which is our copyright. We said we have to chase this virus rather than the virus chasing us. And how did we chase the virus? This invisible enemy. Led by the commissioner, this 100,000 people, out of which 15,000 health workers, we entered the slums of Mumbai, hundreds of them. We started testing these slum dwellers at their residence. Anybody found positive, 15 of his relatives, family members, and neighbors were picked up by force under police protection. They were put in buses. We requisitioned 48,000 rooms in 211 hotels of Mumbai, 3-star, 4-star hotels. And we started moving them to these hotels. We would check their status for 10 days, monitor them. Anybody having symptoms, they will move to hospitals. On the day 10, anybody found RT-PCR negative, he will come back to sanitized home. We started moving this 25,000 people every week. In about 5 weeks, we moved 1.46 lakh people. Otherwise, this 1.46 lakh high-risk contacts would all become positive in slums if they stayed back. They were put in 3-star, 4-star hotels of Mumbai, free boarding and lodging for 10 days. BMC could afford, because BMC has reserves of 80,000 crore rupees. So when the slum dwellers found that they are going to 4-star hotels for 10 days, free boarding and lodging, in a week's time, everybody started moving voluntarily. There was no force required. Second, after that, we said, these slums of Mumbai, where 12 million people live, they have public toilets. Each public toilet has about 20 seats shared by 200, 300 people in a day. So we entered these toilets and we outsourced sanitization. With every 2 hours, these toilets must be sanitized. So we started killing virus every 2 hours in the slums, which continues today also. We spent crores of rupees, and those days we had 2,700 containment zones. Today we have 0. So these containment zones each had 4,000 population. Roughly more than 1 crore people were in containment zones. They could not move out. But we sanitized these lanes and by-lanes of the slum so much every 2 hours that last year we had 0 case of malaria and 0 case of dengue in Mumbai. After this, After this, we created community leaders in all these 2,700 containment zones. And all of them, they had my personal phone number. And they had war room phone numbers of the area. The community leader, only person who was living with his family for years together in the slum, only he was eligible to become community leader. No outsider come there. So the war room started getting a lot of information from these community leaders where doctors are coming, health staff is visiting, sanitation is happening or not. We were distributing 900,000 food packets those days for migrant labor in lockdown. 900,000 every day. So this community leader became a kingpin for us. And we told the war room officers that they will all call you if something is there. If you don't respond, then the next call will come to the commissioner and then the heads will roll down. But hardly any calls came to me after that. So with this kind of chasing this virus, there are 1,500 doctors, standalone shops in these slums who had all run away, putting the shutters down. We went to them, we started giving them free PPE kits 1 week out in advance. And we told them one for the doctor, who was RMP or some MBBS doctor, and one for his assistant. And we told him that you please open your shop and do non-COVID treatment of patients, because snake bites are there, diarrhea is there, other issues are there. Please don't, for heaven's sake, don't run away. So we made them safe through PPE kits. And these community leaders will inform us whether they are coming with PPE kits or not. This campaign started on the 11th of May 2020. And you'll be happy that on the 11th of July, exactly in 8 weeks, when no vaccine was there, no protocol treatment was there, no line of treatment was available, the WHO chief, Director General, Mr. Tedros, came live in press conference in New York, said that in Dharavi and slums of Mumbai, the virus is under control now. It just took us 8 weeks of time, just through our batting on the front foot, being aggressive and offensive. And this was a great achievement done. And after that, not only this, we said not even one, in fact, when I joined, within a week's time, I said not even one non-COVID bed will become COVID, which has happened in almost every city of India. I can give an affidavit in the court that there was zero conversion of non-COVID bed to COVID bed in my time, and the beds went from 3,000 to 100,000. Because we created jumbo hospitals, field hospitals in open playgrounds, 11 of them in various parts of the city, and each jumbo had thousands of beds. We had 30,000 beds, including ICUs and dialysis beds in open playgrounds. Centrally air-conditioned tents were put, where more than 300,000 people have been treated successfully. We have the world's largest jumbo, larger than anywhere in China also, 3,000 beds, 224 ICU in NESCO in Goregaon. So we did about 28 different initiatives, creating jumbos, then chasing the virus, test reports, ward war rooms, online dashboards, crematoriums. In Mumbai, you would never find any social media video or a photograph of multiple cremations in any crematorium, because we had IIT Mumbai designed dashboards for 47 crematoriums in Mumbai. And any patient passing away, relatives would be given slots online, and at the appointed time, nobody else shall be available, will be there except the relatives of the deceased person. So it was happening in a serial fashion. People ask me that how being an engineer helped me on all this. You know, once you do your engineering, your decision making becomes very mathematical. Your mind becomes very mathematical. So all our systems are data driven, they are technology driven. And it is the technology and the data driven systems which are fighting COVID, not individuals in Mumbai. And that is why I have been telling the international media of the West, North America, Canada, they tell me one city in the world which can match Mumbai in fight against COVID pandemic. Even we had limitations. We are not a rich country like America, but see vaccination. Vaccination, Mumbai has done 99% single dose of vaccination, highest anywhere in the world, any city. Today, London is 80%, New York is 64%. And we have done 99% single dose, 62% double dose, and 31st December, we will again create a world record, 100% vaccination, both doses. So this war against pandemic has really been very unique. Then how do we save the economy when COVID was going on? You'd be surprised that our unique model of lockdown in the second wave were appreciated by the Cabinet Secretary of India. What was unique lockdown? In the second wave, which came in February 2021 and lasted till about first week of June 21, in those 4+ months, not on a single day stock exchange was closed. Not in a single day any financial institution like LIC or UTI was shut down in Mumbai. Not in a single day on working days, Monday to Saturday, any nationalized bank or any other financial institution was closed. Even the day on which we got 11,000 cases on 14th April, the stock exchange was operational. All the financial institutions were operational because Mumbai is the nerve center of Indian economy. It's the financial center of the country. It's the financial capital of India. So we were saying that during the entire lockdown, we passed an order. We said assembly of more than five is banned. Round the clock, if anybody is moving, say with his wife and couple in a car, even at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., he's allowed. If he's sitting on some marine drive, some place in garden at midnight, but they're less than 5, they're allowed. Because we said coronavirus doesn't spread unless you gather around. So we said assembly of less than 5 is permitted 24/7. Similarly, there were 60,000 vaccinations happening every day in lockdown. Just imagine the 60,000 people would move out of the homes in taxis and come back in the evening in the lockdown. And so in this unique lockdown, we achieved the lowest mortality rate in the world, and without any real trouble to the citizens or the economy of the country. In fact, when this was brought to the notice of the Honorable Cabinet Secretary of India, he asked me to send a copy of this model unique kind of lockdown where nothing is closed. In fact, my friends would ask me that, Chahal, you have lockdown in Mumbai, but everything is open. We said that as long as there's assembly of more than 5 happening, we are happy with what's happening around. So Mumbai did a lot of initiatives which led to success for us. And I am really grateful to my alma mater for grooming me and making me what I am today. And you remember my words when all the people who have got graduation, post-graduation degrees today or doctorates today, after 20 years when you succeed in your life, then you look back and I'm sure you'll be grateful to your alma mater. And I must say that civil servants are basically trained not to think of any awards. In fact, we were trained that a civil servant is supposed to deliver, and he is not supposed to think of any awards. And we were working in the same fashion. But look, what a blessing. In the last 12 months, I have received 12 awards, being a civil servant. And on top of it, today, I have been so fortunate and so lucky and so blessed, and I feel so humbled that my alma mater has conferred upon me the Doctor of Science, for which I am really grateful to you, sir. The success of this story in Mumbai, primarily, the foundation lies on 4 factors. Number 1 is tremendous free hand given by political leadership to me. Virtually, I could do anything I felt like. There was zero interference of the political leadership. I had so much elbow space, and I had so much of leverage that I had the confidence of all the ruling 3 parties and the opposition party also. In fact, I had no opposition in Maharashtra state or Mumbai city. And the kind of leverage or elbow space I got from political leadership, that really led to very rapid, quick decision making. And then I would fail in my duty if I don't give credit to my team BMC. In fact, I would like to dedicate this today's honor to my team BMC. You know, we lost 344 people in this fight against coronavirus, but we didn't let them down. When I joined on the 8th of May, I found that 125 of my colleagues are already passed away. Chief engineers, deputy commissioners, ward officers. Ward officers are virtually the rank of DCs. So and many of them were not fitting into the Government of India's insurance scheme of 50 lakhs for frontline workers, of health workers, because when a bus driver, BMC owns 4,000 buses in Mumbai. The BEST is a subsidiary of BMC. So these bus drivers, which were transporting doctors and nurses and paramedicals from hospital to back in the peak of the pandemic during lockdown times, they caught COVID and they also passed away. 117 drivers of BEST passed away. And they were not eligible for insurance schemes because they were not frontline. So I passed order with retrospective effect from 1st of March 2020. In May 2020, that anybody directly or indirectly, if he unfortunately passes away because of coronavirus, he'll be given 50 lakh rupees in 24 hours cash. And it is same, whether you are a sweeper, whether municipal commissioner, everybody gets the same amount. And the next of kin gets a job in 24 hours. You know, it put a fire in the belly of our colleagues and our employees. And 344 of them have still led their life till now. And this is how this battle was won. But we stood by them. We have promised them that for our entire life we'll be standing behind them. And this really helped us only. So Team BMC, I must say that I will fail in my duty if I don't mention Team BMC, who have played a very major role. Without their effort, I would have nothing. I wouldn't be present today here. The next, I would salute the private hospitals of Mumbai. You know, when I joined on the 8th of May, that morning, 3 dead bodies were found on the roads of Mumbai. One auto rickshaw driver lying dead in his auto rickshaw. One person dead on the road divider, and one on a footpath in Dadar. So, and when this news in New York Times appeared, which was laughing at Mumbai, I called these 35 major hospitals trustees and management. And no Zoom meetings. We were having all eyeball to eyeball contact. All our meetings were physical. And we told them, I said, look, I read out this New York Times news item to these people from Breach Candy and Nanavati, Leelavati, Hinduja, Bombay Hospital, Fortis, all these managements. I said, you guys were trying to become the second South Asian hub of medical tourism after Singapore, where patients from Middle East and African countries would come for treatment of angioplasty, bypass surgery, dialysis, because it worked cheaper than the West. And I told them that many times when I visit these hospitals, I would see these Arab people sitting there for treatment. I said, look at this news item today. I said, if you don't pull your socks today, your credibility will be killed. And it will take you decades to build your credibility again. You will lose all this so-called dream of being a medical tourism hub of South Asia. So they asked me, sir, what do you want? I said, you hand over all your beds to me. And not only that, I said, you start doing charity. I said, if a doctor, after doing a bypass surgery on a patient, visits the doctor in his ward, after the surgery, he spends a minute there. He asks the doctor asks the patient, how's he feeling? He says, I'm fine. And he walks away. So his visit fees is 4,000 rupees per visit. I said, make it 1 rupee. I told them like this only. Then I told these hospitals, I said, you hand over all your ICUs to me, 100%, and 80% beds you hand over to me for allotment by us at government rate, 4,000 rupees per bed per day. And I said, why I'm taking over 100% of ICUs? Because ICUs we can't share. And I said, we will be allotting all the ICUs, and tomorrow, if the richest of the rich in Mumbai and the poorest of the poor, they both land up in Breach Candy. One would be in the general ward, one would be in his special ward, for the 20% remaining where anything can be charged. But when they go to the ICU, both will be lying side by side, treated by the same doctors. same treatment. So my person will come back to general ward, he'll pay 4,000 rupees per day, and other person will go to his luxury ward, you can charge whatever you want to charge him, we won't ask you questions. So this is how private hospital agreed. And I said, if you do charity and if you take a hit of few hundred crore rupees, I said, and if we succeed, which we have now, I said, your credibility will be so high that I can assure you that in times to come, like you will make up for your revenue losses. The entire Africa, entire Middle East will look upon you. And I must tell you, in the second wave, we had 27 air ambulances coming from Dubai to Mumbai. People in Dubai who would who will get COVID positive, they trusted Mumbai more than Dubai. They would fly down in air ambulances, get admitted in Mumbai hospital because they told us that we feel more safer in Mumbai. This is the kind of credibility which ultimately was achieved. Till today, I would say these private hospitals, 144 of them, their combined losses in thousands of crores, but they are serving with a smile today also. Because they realized their credibility also, and the way the world looks at them is totally different now. So a lot of things we did, but I must say that whatever we did from our heart and soul. It was not that like we were performing a job there. I said we are on a mission. In fact, the first day I joined, I told my core team of 120 people. In Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, we have 4 additional commissioners who are FC rank. We have joint commissioners, deputy commissioners. So I told them, I said, look, the last pandemic came 100 years ago. And the next may come after 100 years. I said, look how blessed we are to serve humanity. Nobody would get an opportunity in the next 100 years, and nobody got in the last 100 years. We have got this opportunity. And I said, this is God has chosen us. I said, all of us, we are chosen by God. And we have a chance to save thousands of human lives. So from there we started, and ultimately we achieved what we wanted to achieve. And finally, one last sentence, I would again fail in my duty if I don't mention one thing which hit my soul. You know, the day I took over, on 8th of May at 7 p.m., I rang up my Chief Minister, Uddhav Thackeray. I said, sir, I've taken over. He said, Chahal, look, you are 33 number in the civil list. There are 32 IAS officers above you. Normally, BMC Commissioner is next to Chief Secretary. He said, I've chosen you. But he said, remember, if you succeed, success will be yours. If you fail, failure will be mine. So he's a different politician. He said, if you fail, the world will say that the general was changed in the middle of the war. And that is why Chief Minister is responsible for his failure of coronavirus control in Mumbai. But if he says you succeed, the world will say Chahal has succeeded. Look, Lord, what a great statesman he is. So I really respect him for that. And once he put me, he virtually made me everything there. So I always mention his name, that I haven't come across a chief minister. I worked under a number of chief ministers. I must have worked under a dozen chief ministers in the last 32 years. So one day I told him, I said, sir, other chief ministers commanded respect because the chair commands respect. But you have earned respect. There's a difference between commanding respect and earning respect. And I said, whether we are here today or not, whether we are retired, but the respect you have earned will continue. So this also, I always tell myself, but when he made the statement, it was around 7:30 p.m. on 8th of May, I closed my eyes for a minute. I said, look, what a trust this man has placed in me. I said, I have only one choice now to succeed. And I said, except success, there can be nothing else. And from there, we started chasing the virus. So I must tell all my friends who are present here that absolutely nothing is impossible. Once you decide, you can clinch anything. There'll be a lot of hurdles, a lot of failures, a lot of problems, but ultimately you will succeed. And please believe me that nothing is impossible. And once you have that motto in your mind, you will never fail wherever you are. So that is a mantra that where there's a will, there's a way. Once you decide something, it does happen. It may take time, it may take struggle, but it always happens. So finally, I would once again thank the Board of Directors, Vadera sir, Gopalan sir, and all his colleagues for inviting me today and giving me this great honor. Thank you very much, sir.